Casanova. What's up there, dude? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina, and we're doing one of my favorites authors today. Uh, so, like I have said in the past, I have all of these books. Some of the books, some of the earlier ones, I have in um, hardcover, softcover, and audio. I mentioned this in a previous video that some of the early ones that were first released in uh, hardcover, well, they were mass markets, but they did the large print in hardcover. And when she went back and redid them a few years later, if you do the audiobooks and you do it with one of the Thorndike hardcover large prints, there are going to be paragraphs missing. So that's why I have the hardcover and the paperback and the book on CD. And in the case of the first three or four, a couple of years ago, she came out with it was some sort of anniversary, and they reprinted the first few books. So I'll have to show them one day. I'm planning on doing a vid like 1 through 5, 5 through 10, that kind of thing, and show the original hardcover, the anniversary hardcover, the paperback, and the book on CD. So I have a lot. So the first few. Then later on, they just switched over to the hardcover new format. But anyway, my favorite author in the whole world. These things never stay shut. So, Thankless in Death, J.D. Robb. And be prepared for some spoilers, because this is one of the ones that hits a few of the readers' pet peeves. We all want XYZ for Eve, but Eve doesn't want XYZ. So, a few spoilers here. Well, a ton of spoilers. Massive. I can't do this book without spoiling up the yin yang. So we're gonna spoil up the kazoo here. My pal here. What's up with you today, Casanova? He's like, pay attention to me. So, Eve is a lieutenant in the New York Police and Security Department. If you haven't checked out the other 36, 37, 38 videos, because I've been doing all the in-betweens, and I've got the next one coming, Taken in Death, that's coming up soon. That's book 37 and a half. This is book 37. And Eve is... Put that there for a second. Okay. Eve is a lieutenant in the New York Police and Security Department, and usually I'll go through the big spiel, but most of her early stuff, that particular plot line was cured in New York to Dallas. So we won't go too much into that because it's not too relevant to this particular one. But so she's a lieutenant in the New York Police Security Department. She was raised in the foster system. We need to mention that due to a few situations in here. Eve is more comfortable out on the streets with gangs doing takedown of Chemmy than she is at a party. She never experienced a birthday party or a holiday party or Christmas or anything, or Valentine's Day, none of those occasions ever. So she's got this little thing that she's trying to work through, and she's getting better at it because she's almost into her third year of marriage by this point. So she, Lord, so all right, so she's not used to social situations, so that's the first big thing. And she likes doing her job. That's her total. She sees herself as a cop, but thanks to her marriage to Rock, people see her as Rock's cop. So up until this point, up until Celebrity and Death, she's been dealing with, oh, you're Rock's cop, you're Rock's cop. Now, after Celebrity and Death, because of the iCove case, check out those books. I did reviews on these. But Nadine First, who is a reporter a crime reporter. She's also got a new show called This Is Now, What's Happening Now. And she's also written a book about the Cove case, one of the cases that Eve did a few books ago. So she's written that, and it's coming into a movie, and that was Celebrity in Death. Now she's working on a few books ago. I believe it was Delusion in Death. I know I wrote it down. Yes, Delusion in Death. So in that book, that's my computer you're trying to mark. Everybody tries to scent mark my computer. I don't know why. So, Nadine's next book is based on Casanova. Come on, over here. Come on, over here. Delusion in Death. That was where a young man found out his true lineage. And usually, if the normal person, had found out our true lineage and we were related to a Hitler type person, we would be horrified and aghast and whatever. But this guy finds out that he's related to that type of person and celebrates and embraces it and decides that he's going to use this information to get rid of everybody in front of him, everybody that's preventing him from getting promotions and raises. He's just going to take them out. So because of that particular case that Eve did, and Rook assisted her, and that's Nadine's next book. So we'll get to that in a second. So I've got a few excerpts. So this book, Thankless in Death, Gerald Reinhardt thinks he's privileged. He's not. He's got this thing in his, and there's people out there that really exist like this. They totally believe that the world owes them just because they exist. And his parents are like, you need to find a job. He can't hold it because he sleeps late or does drugs, or he doesn't do it right, or he steals or whatever, or he lost money. He stole money out of the emergency fund to go play in Vegas, and he lost it all. And he had a girlfriend, but he didn't contribute to the rent. He had a teacher that gave him bad grades. He had so he resents everybody, and he feels that these people deserve to be punished. And the book starts off with him murdering his parents. His parents are good, decent people, but because they've decided he's got to leave, they're trying to do the hard love thing. He needs to leave. He needs to go earn a living. He needs to make it on his own instead of living off their largesse. So he kills them. And he's so proud of himself, and he's celebrating. And he goes to a hotel, and he has a big filet mignon dinner in the home yard. And I understand Eve's frustration in trying to track him down. He's so irritable. He's just, he deserves to be punished for all the things that he's done. He's punishing really good, honest people because he just sees himself as privileged, and he's not. Because he can't hold a job, he's got drinking problems, alcohol problems, drug problems. He blames the entire world but himself. So that's the whole point of this book. But so Eve's got her partner, Peabody. Her husband is Rourke. He owns the world. McNabb is Peabody's partner in life. He's also a detective in the electronic division. Feeney was her prior mentor, and now he is captain of EDD, the electronic division. Mira is the shrink. Whitney is her superior commander. Trueheart, Baxter, Reinhold, Carmichael, they're all her subordinates. And so we've got that going on. So, and because of the case, because of the previous case that I explained with the guy that felt that he was just privileged. Wait a minute, let's back up here. All right, so I explained that Eve has issues with holidays. So my first thing I want to say is it's Thanksgiving. It's 2060 and it's Thanksgiving. And she's like, what? She's driving to work in Manhattan. And she says, "What is it with people?" Eve wondered, clogging up her streets, flooding her sidewalks, jamming on glides, swarming crosswalks. What made them pack into New York for the holidays? Didn't they have homes of their own? She fought through nasty knots of traffic on the trip downtown to Cop Central, while ad blimps blasted the news from overhead of Black Friday mega sales, gobble up bargains while they last, doorbuster holiday sales at the Sky Mall. She wished to God they all go to the Sky Mall and get out of her city. Snarling with equally pissed drivers at yet another tangle, she watched a quick-fingered street thief make hay with a gaggle of oblivious tourists crowded around a smoking glide cart. Even if she hadn't been packing among rabbit cabs and farting maxi buses, the odds of catching him were slim. As fast-footed as fingered, he zipped away, richer by 3 wallets and 2 pocket links by her count. The early bird catches the loot, she supposed, and a few less people would be hitting the Sky Mall. She spotted a thin fracture in traffic, gunned it, ignoring the rude blast of horns, wound her way downtown. So we got that. That's Eve and Holidays. And Rock just informed her previously in the book that his family's coming in, his big Irish family. If you haven't gone through those videos, you need to go back and check those videos, how he discovered his family and how wonderful his relatives are. It's a fantastic read. So that was one of the pages I wanted to go through. So back to my other moment of the case of the delusional guy, delusion and death, that Eve and Rourke had solved, and that's going to be Nadine's next book, The Red Horse. She's calling it The Red Horse. It's Delusion and Death for J.D. Robb, but Nadine, last I heard, was calling it The Red Horse. So she's up reporting to Whitney, her superior commander, and he goes through it all, and then he says, "I'm sure you will. I'm satisfied you have this investigation in hand, but I called you here for another matter." Now he laid his hands on his desk. "You are to be awarded the Medal of Honor." "Sir?" "Most specifically for your exemplary work, the personal risk taken, and the countless lives you saved through that work by those risks in the recent incidents of the mass murder by chemical weapons, the apprehension of Lewis Calloway and Gina McMillan, and the case you built against them." And that's Delusion and Death. "Commander, I'm honored, but I didn't investigate, apprehend, or build the case alone. My team will be acknowledged, as will Agent Tisdale from the HSO. You headed the team, Lieutenant. You commanded those men and women. This is the highest honor bestowed on a police officer by the NYPSD and isn't given lightly. Though some politics may come into play, in this case and in my considered opinion, they have played properly. Do you want to dispute my considered opinion, Lieutenant?" "No, sir." Neatly cornered, she thought. "Thank you, sir. The presentation is scheduled for this coming Wednesday at 1400. I've been given the nod to so inform you. I'm proud to do so." "Thank you, Commander." Actually, the idea left her tight in the chest with a snagged up combination of pride, gratitude, and outright embarrassment. "I don't want to seem ungrateful. I'm very grateful, but is it possible to keep this?" He interrupts. Low key, quiet, small, and relatively private. Hope struggled to bloom through the snags. "Any of that? Nope. Gonna go full on public even." Absolutely not. Suck it up, Dallas. And quietly died. "Yes, sir. On another matter that also has its tangle of politics, I have a question for you. Do you want captaincy?" Now, this is a huge, huge contingency for the fans. Now, there are many of her fans want her to take the captaincy seat. We would all like J.D. Robb to find a way, although we know it's not going to happen, and we have been told it's not going to happen unless Nora Roberts changes her mind, but Nora's pretty much said firm no. But we fans have wanted Nora to find a way to give Eve the captaincy and let her still investigate. Because the captaincy will take her out of the field and she wants to stay in the field. And we want Eve to stay in the field, but we also want her to have the captaincy. But she feels it's too far away. It's a direct question, Lieutenant. I'd like an answer. But before she could formulate one, he held up a finger to hold that answer. You're young for the rank, would be the youngest captain under my command, and if it had been my call, the bars would have been offered to you long ago. Politics, perception, prejudice have all played a part in the decision not to offer. Our personal lives are part of who we are and part of how we're perceived. Understood, Commander. And she did not only understand him, but the process and herself, everything in her loosened again. I've always understood and have no regrets in my personal life. Nor should you. It's become more difficult, some may say impossible, to use your marriage as a wedge against this promotion. It is particularly difficult now as Rourke will be awarded the Medal of Merit Civilian. Ashley felt her eyes pop a bit before she let out a half laugh. I can use that on him for years. The two of you have an interesting dynamic, Whitney observed. Now I'd like your answer. Commander, trying to think clearly so her answer would be, she raked a hand through her hair. 3 years ago, I wouldn't have hesitated. It was more about proving something to myself. Outside of the job, the ground and pretty shaky for me, and I didn't even know it. Not really. So I wanted that to prove I had the solid under me, and I wanted to earn it. You've earned it. As he studied her face, lines dug in between his brows. But now you hesitate. Sir, I admire your transition from investigator to commander, your skill and your insight. Your work is more difficult than I can imagine and is honorable and necessary. You've already got the promotion if you want it, Dallas. Then relax just a little more. I'm not ready to ride a death. I'm solid enough on administration, but I'm an investigator. A captain's presence in the field as an investigator is the exception rather than the rule. I'm a murder cop. That's my strength. That's my skill and my insight. I wouldn't be offered this promotion otherwise. She thought of Jenkins' ridiculous tie of the rubber chicken above Sanchez's desk where he'd been when he'd been the new guy. More, she thought how she could trust without question anyone in her bullpen to go through the door with her. And, sir, I don't want to put a buffer between me and my men. Don't want them to feel they have to climb the chain to talk to me, to run a case by me, to ask for my help. I'm not willing to step away from them. They and the job are more important than captain's bars. I'm glad to be able to say that and mean it. You've given this considerable thought. Actually, Commander, I'd put it away. I haven't given it much of any thought in a long time. At peace with it, she realized, not altogether familiar place to be. I am grateful to be considered. I believe I'm best served the department, the people of New York, where I am. He sat back, a big man with a big city behind him. I could have pushed for this harder at several points along the way, and had several debates with myself on doing just that. Politics, sir, she shrugged, then put them away. Some, yes, but not all. The primary reason I didn't push, as I agree with you. Your strengths are your investigative abilities and your skill handling your department, your insight into the perpetrator and victim. I didn't want to lose that, but now that certain obstacles are cleared or have been cleared, I felt it was time to ask you. So you can read the rest. But it's a big contention with her fans. And some are, they understand Eve's point of view, and we would like to see Eve still maintain the field and get the captain and the promotion and the extra money. Although, technically, she doesn't need the money because she's married to the richest guy in the world. But I think she should get the respect, at least. So, that was that contention. So then, I wanted just to mention, wait a second here. So, Peabody was talking to Eve earlier in the day about how her and McNabb had a date night. They like to keep things fresh by every once in a while going out, movie, dancing, doing a date, even though they live together and stuff like that. She wants to keep stuff alive, and it got into Eve's head. So Eve decides she's going to plan a special dinner. Eve has no clue how to plan a special dinner. Um, let's see. She needed to clear her head, look at it from another angle. She needed Rock, she admitted, his ear, his eye, his canny brain. She'd run it through for him, run it by him, bounce it off him, she determined as she braked at the front entrance. Maybe she'd miss something he'd see or think of. He'd help. That wasn't assumption but fact, and as much home to her as the stone and glass they lived in. She started to climb out, and Peabody's date night narrowed into her mind. For Christ's sake, she didn't have time for that. Didn't make time, she corrected, and slumped back. He did. Rourke made time, and he couldn't claim he wasn't one of the busiest people on or off planet. She hardly ever made time for the fussy stuff, and now that added one more weight. Even when she wasn't neck deep in an investigation, she just didn't think of it. Now thinking of it stacked guilt on her head like shoulders. She couldn't manage a date night, just couldn't, but she should be able to put a nice meal together with a few fancy touches and balance out his eye, ear, caney brain. She shoved out of the car, bolted for the front door and through, and saw Somerset looming in black with the podgy cat at his feet. I don't have time for witty repartee, she snapped. That's unfortunate. Is he home? Not yet. I need to put a meal together on the roof terrace. Somerset's eyes lifted. There's nothing on the calendar. Just, she waved that away as the cat padded over to ripple between her legs. I can handle the setup, but tell me what we should eat. And don't make it something I hate out of spite. Even scarecrows could be amused, she noted. Very well, I'd start with tomato soup with poached shrimp. Wait, she yanked out a PPC to note it down. Go. Then move on to green salad with seasonal pears in a champagne vinaigrette. For the main, I'd suggest lobster thermidor. What the hell is that? Delicious, you'll enjoy it. I'd serve it with Sauvignon Blanc or champagne and finish it with a vanilla bean souffle, brandy, and coffee. Okay, got it. She raced for the stairs. Is that what you're wearing? Shut up! She charged into the bedroom. Damn it, she wasn't wearing some fancy dress. It wasn't date, but she strode in the closet and the cans danced at her heels as if they played a game. She had enough clothes for 100 normal people. She should be able to put one decent outfit together, and she was damned if she'd asked Somerset to consult here. She grabbed black pants. Black went with everything, didn't it? Then dug out a sweater, really soft in a color that made her think of fall leaves and with a sparkly band at the neck and hem. That way she didn't have to deal with more sparkles. Boots were probably wrong, she imagined, but she would not put on skyscraper heels. It surprised her to find a pair of black shoes with a sparkly wedge-type heel. Shouldn't surprise her, she thought, as she veered into the quick change. She never knew what the closet fairy would stick in there next. In the olden days, Eve just had a t-shirt and jeans. That was it. That was all that mattered. She had clothes on, didn't care. Rourke has influenced her. Given the circumstances, she slapped on some lip dye and lash gunk and some face junk. As good as he was going to get, she decided, and streaked for the elevator. Eve hates makeup. Hates it. As you can tell, I have not worn makeup since December 2000. Was the last time I wore makeup. I went to a Christmas party at my old company, MOBILE, or now in their community, COMMICATIONS. I worked in accounts payable. So, anyways, that's a little tidbit there. So she sets up the dinner. Still carry the dregs of the day's irritation. Rourke stepped into the foyer. It surprised him to find it empty. No Somerset, no Cap, particularly on a day he'd have appreciated a bit of a welcome home. He shrugged out of his topcoat and into a habit he'd picked up from his wife, tossed it over the new post on his way upstairs. An hour in the gym, he decided, pummeling something with a quick swim. That should scrape the annoyance away, and if not, a very large drink might do the job. When he walked into the bedroom, he saw Eve's weapon, her badge, on the dresser. So the lieutenant was home, he thought. Maybe he could pull her away from her double murder. He followed the crime reports, chalked her into a sparring match or that swim. Better yet, a good shag. And that should take care of the dregs good and well. In her home office, no doubt, he decided, pacing around her newest murder board or hunched over her computer. He imagined he was in for pizza and a great deal of coffee over the grisly details of her day. You know, you know that black child that was sitting right here? He's over there looking at me. He's staring at me over the computer. Okay. He didn't mind it, he thought, as he set aside his briefcase, loosened his tie. Her work was nearly as fascinating to him as she was, and the part he played in it made him feel satisfied. He concluded, often involved and excited, but primarily satisfied. No one would have believed, including himself, that Dublin street rat, the well-accomplished thief, the man of wealth and power, with such dubious and shady beginnings, could or would work on the side of the law, even if his line marking the sides tended to curve and sway a bit. But she changed him. No more, he corrected. She found him and made him all the difference. So he'd have pizza in her office, listen, think, and lend his cop as she stood for the newest step. And the frustration of his own day, where they paled, didn't they, against all the blood. To save time, steps, and be sure, he stepped into the house board. Where is Eve? Eve is currently on the roof terrace, east sector. Odd, he thought. Isn't that was the last place he'd expected, but it ranked high. Furious, he crossed to the elevator. Roof terrace east, he ordered. He doubted she'd gone up there to take in the view or the fresh air. His wife did little without specific purpose, especially when a case was hot. Just how did all this lay into her case, he wondered. Something to do with height, perhaps, or the view did play in and she needed that perspective and the scope to find something, or he stepped out into the flowers, candlelight, the soft warmth and sparkly of crystal, and his mind went momentarily and uncharacteristically blank. Hey, she shot him a distracted look. I've just about got it. Do you? Bemused and rapidly flipping through his mental calendar, he walked to her. What's all this? It's dinner. She surprised him like this once before, he recalled, and had been wearing a red dress meant to be peeled off. A little different, this. He thought of his sense of things was on target, but just as lovely. Are we celebrating? No, well, sort of, maybe. You closed the case, the double homicide you caught this morning. No, it's their stuff. When I'm thinking about the stuff and how I wanted to bounce it all off you, I got this Peabody date night stuck in my brain. We're having a date with Peabody? I get two alluring women? Lucky me. She spared him one glance through narrowed eyes. You got me, and that's it, pal. Thank God for that. He cupped her face, leaned in for a sweet, soft kiss. We're having a date? No, not exactly. I can't do the big D date thing where you shove all your stuff aside, but I thought I could pay you back for all the stuff nicer than pizza in my office. He looked at her for such a long, still moment she feared she'd screwed up. Then he pulled her in, wrapped her around her, held tight. Thank you. It's not that big a thing. It is to me, and especially tonight. What's tonight? So he'd had a bad day. So then she tells him, uh, let me see. So she tells him about what Whitney said. Um, I my observation's been much of police work is grunt work, drudging, covering the same ground again and again, countless hours in interviews, writing or generating reports in terrifying times of extreme risk, ferocious action, split-second decisions, and finite planning. You've been dealing with primarily with the first day. They should have given me a medal for that, she muttered. When she just smiled, poured champagne, she shifted. I'm getting one. A medal. That's lovely. Congratulations. It's a big one. I don't mean She held her hands out to indicate big. It's a big deal one. Medal of Honor, that's for. I know what it's for, what it means. He reached for her hand and held it at her eyes. There is no higher honor in your world. It's more than deserved, more than earned. They could keep the medal and give me a bigger budget. He shifted her hand to his lips. I'm so proud of you and so amused at your discomfort in being recognized for your dedication and skill. Amused? Here's another funny one for you. You're getting a medal too. He dropped her hand. What? I'm a civilian, as you continually remind me. Civilian Medal of Merit, and they don't give them out like Candy Pal, especially to shady characters. I don't think it's appropriate. She loved it, just loved it when he turned all dignified. Oh, it is, and now I get to be amused. You're the one who started sticking his nose in this whole bloody body. Now you're going to have to stand up there on Wednesday afternoon, 1400. So put that in your book and take what you get. I'm pretty damn proud of you too, so suck it up. Aren't we a pair? Christ, the abuse I take over this by old mates a bloody medal. The department values you, and it should. So we're having champagne and this really tasty lobster before I get back in gear. She took another drink, and there's another thing. More? More than double murders, assholes, and medals? Yeah, more than that. Whitney called me in to tell me about the medals and to ask me if I wanted captain. Eve. This time his hand advised on hers. That's called burying the lead and burying it deep, Eve, he said again and started to rise. I said I didn't. Sorry, what? I said I didn't want the bars. Are you gone in the head? She narrowed her eyes. Is that Irish for stupid? Crazy, more accurate. Bluffed annoyance rode over his face. What in bloody hell wouldn't you want it? It's a major promotion and accomplishment. I understand the discomfort over the medal. You see yourself as doing your job, and you neither need nor want some fancy piece pinned on you for it. But captaincy, Christ Jesus, Eve, it's your career. It's what you are. More than that, and we both know he'd offered to you before, but for me. No, not because of you, because of me. I made my choice. Whatever you think, it was my choice. I chose you, and if the brass play politics with that, that was their choice. Now they'll give me a medal, and they opened a door for you. Why aren't you walking through, bloody dancing through it? No reason for you to be pissed about it. I'm not pissed so much as gobsmacked. Why did you turn it down? I can't give up what I have, she said simply. I'm not ready. Maybe I'll never be ready. I'm a cop. I have to be a cop. How do Captain Bars change that? They take me out of the field. Right now, someone else would be looking for Jerry Reinhold, not me. They'd put distance and space between me and my men because I wouldn't be their direct supervisor. I'd spend more time, most of the time, in meetings with paperwork, making administrative decisions, and only what I could eke out actually doing the job I'm good at. She took long breaths when he said nothing. I need to be a cop, a good cop, more than I need the rank, and I knew that today without any question at all when he offered the bars. So then she tells Feeny. Now Feeny is her mentor, and he raised her. He raised her in the cop world. He raised her. He took her in off the streets. He took her from patrol. Took him under his wing and taught her everything he knew before he went to EDD and the captaincy. So she's talking to him about the case, and then she says, Whitney offered me captain. First his mouth dropped open, then it rebounded into a wide grin as he slapped a hand on the desk. About fucking time! I turned it down. My gut said no. She continued before he could respond. It said I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing now, how I'm supposed to be doing it. I think I'd be a good captain. I'm better investigator. So I said no. Am I stupid? He had to blow out a long breath, take a moment to evaluate. I gotta get over you said no. Okay, Hal, from my seat, stupid's not listening to your gut. You'll take it when you're ready, but the point is you earned it, and you earned it long before this. That's how I feel, she told him. I didn't expect the offer, and I sure as hell didn't expect to say no when it came. but that's how I feel. It's what I know. The bars matter, kid, but they're not the day in and out for cops like you and me. It's the job that matters. I didn't have to teach you that. You came in knowing it. Okay. So then, now, if you've been following the series, uh, three, not two. If you've been following the series for any length of time, you know that the Blast case was the very, very first case, Naked in Death. And you know that, what's their, I wrote it down. Richard D. Blast, Elizabeth, his wife, and the I'll have to go back and check which book it was, but Kevin. One of the cases that Eve dealt with a few books ago, 10 or so. It may have been a few more than that. I don't remember. Um, but she met Kevin. Kevin's mother was a junkie, and it was Kevin and his little kitten, Dopey, I think the name of the kitten was. And they worked their magic, and they got the Blasts to adopt Kevin. And then a few books later, I'd have to look. I don't remember which book it was. Might have been Salvation in Death. It might have been Survivor in Death. So that was I think it was Survivor in Death, a few books ago. That was quite a while ago. But Nixie Swisher. We met Nixie Swisher. And we've seen her a few times, and the DeBlasses have adopted Nixie because Nixie's parents were killed, and her brother and her best friend were killed, and she was the survivor. So they've adopted, and we're going to see them again. And we've seen them a couple of times since. But Nixie Swisher is a very important, she believes in Eve. And people have tried to tell Eve that she's a very important part of Nixie's life, her memories. So it's a hard thing for Eve to accept. So I can't let this go without finishing it here. Tibble is the higher up guy. Tibble stepped over, shook hands with Eve, Rock. This is a very well deserved on both counts. I'll speak to this in my remarks, but I want to say to you personally, the NYPSD and the City of New York are fortunate to have you as one of their own, Lieutenant. Thank you, sir. And you, he said to Rook. We're grateful for the time, effort, and expertise you contribute. You're more than welcome for it. And I think it's safe to say that the time spent on acknowledging such as this, however well earned, is something we'd both rather devote to work. But it's important for the department and the city to make the acknowledgement. Understood and sir, and appreciated. More appreciated, I expect, if we can keep it brief. He gave them a nod, stepped off, had a word with Kai Jung. Even as the mayor spotted them and Eve knew could mean an endless blather, Kai Jung gently tapped his shoulder, gestured toward the door leading to the auditorium stage. Here we go, Eve murmured. They filed that. When she faced the auditorium, Eve had to order herself not to gape. Not only was every seat filled, but people stood in the back along the side walls. She'd expected to see Nadine. No crime beat reporter would miss the moment. She hadn't expected to see Mavis, her best friend. Mavis was one of the original characters in the series. She's now a pop star. Leonardo, her husband, who's the fashion designer, world-renowned fashion designer, and the baby Bella. Who the hell told them? She spotted her entire division. Mira, Feeney, McNabb, Jesus, she thought, who was chasing bad guys? And there, Charles Monroe, ex high-paying person, uh, Morris, Caro, Rio, the APA. She watched Jamie Lindstrom slide in the doors, Feeney's godsend, and Ace, who wanted to be a cop, had longer hair than the last time she'd seen him. And Jamie Lindstrom appears in several books, and I love him to death. He's great. He's awesome. Computer geek up the yin yang. Rock really, 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 really wants him to come work for him, and the kid wants to follow in his grandfather and godfather's footsteps and be a cop. It's the family, Rock said quietly. What? The family. They're here. She followed his gaze. She found his Aunt Sinead, his uncles, his grandmother, cousins, and God knew. And Somerset. He'd arranged it, Eve realized, letting Rock think they were coming in later, but bringing them for this. For pride, for family. Hell, it did matter. She thought when she saw Sinead beaming. All of it mattered. She started to say something to Rock as the mayor approached the podium. She spotted another face in the crowd, Nixie Swisher. Face sober, eyes steady, she didn't smile, just continued to give Eve the serious, even stare. In the stare, Eve read something she hadn't considered. This was for her, too, for Nixie, for all the victims, all the survivors, for every one of the dead she'd ever stood for or would stand for. So it mattered. It all mattered. It took long, too long, had too many words, far too many cameras. She would tune some of that out. The speeches, the media, the politics didn't count, not in the long run. But she allowed herself to touch her fingertips just the slightest to brush Rock's as Whitney called him up. What mattered was the sheen of pride in Sinead's eyes, and yet even the glint of it in Somerset's. The unmistakable satisfaction in Feeney's face, the unified acknowledgement from her division. The acceptance by the people in her world for the man who meant everything. It is my privilege to present you the New York City Police and Security's highest civilian honor with gratitude for your invaluable assistance, your contribution, and your valor. You hold no badge, you have no sworn duty, and yet you have given your time, resources, and skills. You've risked and injured physical harm in the pursuit of justice for the people of New York. Today we thank you and honor you for your contribution. Did it surprise him that they stood for him? Eve wondered. The uniforms, the detective, the brass, the rank and file, and the bosses of NYPSD. He was so accustomed to power, to position, to holding a room of people in the palm of his hands. But yes, she thought, it surprised him when they all rose to their feet. She had no doubt he considered the irony of it all. The Dublin street rat, the slick and slippery thief who spent most of his life outwitting and invading cops, now had them standing for him. I thank you all for this honor, but it's been my privilege to work with the New York's very finest, to come to know the men and women who serve, and more, to come to understand their dedication, courage, and their sacrifice. You call it duty, but from what I've seen, it's more than that. It's who and what you are. I am grateful to have any part of that. When he stepped back, Eve broke her dignified cop face long enough to grin at him as he stood with the brass for the quick photos. Nice, she murmured, when he stepped back beside her. So it was. The room would enjoy it if you kissed me now. No! She might have laughed, but she understood he was perfectly serious. Firm on that. She put the dignified face back in place as Whitney began to speak again. We take an oath to protect and serve, Whitney began. Every cop takes the oath, accepts the duty. A good cop does more, accept duty, but it lives it. Lieutenant Eve Dallas is a good cop. Today she receives the NYPSD Medal of Honor, the highest honor given. It is never given lightly. Certification specifically addresses the Red Horse investigation, where under the lieutenant's lead, through her dogged pursuit, her clear-eyed leadership, and her keen skill, Lewis Calloway and Gina McMillan were identified, apprehended, and will face trial for mass murder and domestic terrorism. Applause rippled through the auditorium at that. Eve tempted to join in to applause, but knew better. The successful investigation saved countless lives, Whitney continued, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Throughout her career, from very beginning in uniform, Lieutenant Dallas displayed the skill, the dedication, and the valor that merit this honor. For that, for the dozen years, for all the cases, all the risks, the sacrifices for justice served, it's my professional pleasure to award the Medal of Honor to Lieutenant Eve Dallas, a good cop. It was those 3 words that got her a good cop. For her, that was the highest accolade, the most important tribute she could earn. She had to fight back the emotion that flooded through her. Good cops didn't choke up as she stepped forward. Thank you, sir. Not this time. He pinned the medal on her, shook her hand. Thank you, Lieutenant, for your exemplary service. He nearly did her in by stepping back, saluting. She could take a minute while the crowd stood and applauded, take a minute to pull herself together and remember what she'd planned to say, except she couldn't remember a damn thing. Okay, she managed, hoping that would settle everyone down, including herself, but they just kept going. She glanced toward Kyung for help, and he gave her a smile and elegant shrug. Okay, she said, as he took another breath, spotted Nixie again. The young girl stood on her chair so she could see, smiling now. Kevin, the boy she'd been raised with, stood on the chair beside her. Richard and Elizabeth flanked them. And they were all a part of this, she thought. Richard and Elizabeth, who lost their daughter, Kevin, whose junkie mother had deserted him, Nixie, whose entire family had slaughtered, and Jamie in the back of the room, once a grieving and defiant kid determined to avenge his sister's murder. All of them, and so many more. Okay, she said a third time. Okay. Thanks, I'm honored and grateful to be awarded this distinction. I'm honored to be part of the NYPSD and to work with so many good cops. To be commanded by one, to have trained by one, to partner with one, to head a department with many really good cops. To have the brain and the canniness, I guess, of a civilian who'd make a pretty good cop himself if he wasn't so opposed to it. That got enough of a laugh to settle her down. The distinction theirs as much as mine. Problem more. You don't close cases without someone having your back or trusting the cop or the civilian going through the door with you. This is for all of us, and it's for every victim we've stood for, we'll stand for, every survivor we work to find answers for. They're what count. That's why we're here. That's it. Thank God, she thought, even as she angled for photos as applause rang out. Thank God that was over. They wanted more photos of her with Rourke, and despite instinct to shake it off, he took her hand and held it. Well said, Lieutenant. I was supposed to say something else, but I forgot what it was. He laughed, squeezed her hand, and I'm not permitted to kiss you even after that. Forget it. She thought more blah blah with the mayor, more handshakes, a few more photos. Then Kyung, in his delicate way, extracted them. I realize you have very little time, Lieutenant, but there's a couple of people who want very much would like a moment. He led her off stage, gestured to where Nixie waited. Hey, kid, you look different wearing that. I feel different wearing this. A little weird. She's in uniform. We're coming to your house tomorrow after the parade. That's what I hear. There'll be lots of kids. We saw Somerset, and he said, yeah. Eve glanced over, saw Rourke embrace his aunt while a herd of kids various ages flocked around. He's right. I'm supposed to talk to you mostly tomorrow when you're not so busy, but go ahead. The laser look came back straight into Eve's eyes. You said it was for all of us. My mom and my dad, my brother, my friend, and everyone. That's right. Can I touch it? Sure. Eve crouched down, watched Nixie's face and serious blue eyes, soft cheeks, stubborn little mouth as the girl handled the medal. Then Nixie looked up. It's important. It's important. She smiled then, and two adult seriousness flicked away. I have a surprise for you. What is it? Nixie rolled her eyes. A surprise. You can see it tomorrow when we come for Thanksgiving. I'm going to say congratulations to Rourke, then we have to go. Are you looking for a bad guy now? Yes, I am. Did he kill somebody? Yes, he did. Then you have to catch him. Simple as that, Eve thought. And maybe on some level it was. That's a plan. I'll see you tomorrow. And there's our Eve. Sinead enfolded her in a hard sway hug. Soft skin, Eve thought. Soft hair, strong arms. It's weird. This is weird. Loving embrace. Eve decided like wearing the uniform was weird. Not bad, just different. Oh, it's good to see you. Hands on Eve's shoulder. Sinead drew her back, her green eyes damp, her smile brilliant. And so stalwart are you in your uniform. Won't be keeping you. Somerset told us you were busy on an investigation, but we wanted to come and see you and our Rourke honored. It meant so much to us, Eve, so much to all of us. It meant a lot to him when he saw you. His mother would be so proud, so I've her pride and my own to give both of you. I'll be after getting a copy of one of those photos of you too. Oh, this is such a thrill for all of us. I have to let you go, as if I don't know the whole family will swarm you. We'll wait till you're home to do that. With a laugh, Sinead kissed Eve's cheek. Okay, I can't let this go. One more thing. There was some paperwork to deal with, some contacts to make. Procedure was procedure, but Eve figured they pulled up at the house at a reasonable time. She hadn't screwed up Thanksgiving. Champagne Rock decreed for both of you. Exceptional teamwork in interview. Champagne, Peabody did a seat dance before climbing out. Oh boy, oh boy. It's a good day, Eve decided, and they could wait for the next talk to asshole Joel in the hospital. She stepped into the house, into a wall of voices, music, into the sense of applewood burning, candles flickering, flowers, and food, into she supposed family. They'd spread around the living room and had broken out musical instruments. Some of them danced, including, she saw considerable shock, the huge crack, the sex club owner with his tattoos and feathers. The Irish white skin of the girl he had on his hip glowed about his ebony. Mavis's Bella clung to McNabb's hands and stamped her feet in a mimic of the step dancing going on. It's called Celia, she remembered from her visit to the family farm in Clare, and she supposed they brought a little Irish to an American holiday. It was just fine. Before she could evade or think to, one of them, uncle, no cousin, whizzed by, snatching her, swinging her into the whirl of it. She managed a no, but he just plucked her off her feet to spin in circles. And it goes on a little bit. Easy now, Sinead ordered. You're all smothering the lot of them. Ian tells us you got your man. All's well with the world. For now. Now is good and fine. We've been entertaining ourselves, as you see, until you got home again. Don't let that stop you. She took the glasses of champagne Rock handed her. That was quick. It's already out and open. Nadine walked over, gave Eve a hard, completely unexpected hug. I love them, she murmured in Eve's ear. I love them all and want to marry them. How much have you had to drink? Just the right amount. God, they're so much fun. You're a lucky woman, Dallas. I'm feeling pretty lucky. I'm having the best time. Easing back, Nadine plucked up her glass of champagne, lifted it in toast. I'm getting an exclusive with you and Rock together on now. No, you're not. Oh, I am. Fun and affectionate danced in Nadine's crafty green eyes. I'm going to get you drunk enough to agree before we have pie. Good luck with that. I'm feeling pretty lucky too. Morris is going to play the sax. I want to marry him when he plays the sax. One of the uncles sang with a retching bloody medley, and half the room shed tears. Eve thought they liked it. Mavis bounced up to give her a squeeze, then Charles. Everybody seemed to need a hug. I got that name and contact for you, Charles. It turns out you didn't need it. I'm glad I didn't. She started to back. She really needed to take her weapon harness off secure, but she glanced down to see Sean and Nixie staring up at her. What? You got the bad guy, Sean stated. We got him. Did you zap him a good one first? Violent little bugger, she thought. She liked that about him. No, I just knocked him down twice. That's something then. He killed people, Nixie said. That's right. He won't anymore. No, he won't. She smiled. I have your surprise. Yeah, hand it over. She ran to Elizabeth, got a slim rectangle in a gold paper. Gifts were always weird to Eve, so she ripped the paper off like a bandage from a wound to get it done fast, and she looked down at the framed drawing of herself. She stood eyes wide, weapon drawn, coat billowing, a little reminiscent, she thought, of an illustration in one of Rock's classic graphic novels, and just as frosty. I drew it, but Richard helped. A little, he confirmed. A lot, Nixie whispered. It's great. It really great. I look kick-ass. Nixie giggled, slid her gaze toward her adoptive parents. It's an assignment. My therapist said for me to make a picture of the person I'm most thankful for this Thanksgiving. I thought about it a lot because I'm really thankful for Elizabeth and Richard and Kevin, but I wouldn't let them be thankful except for you. I wrote an essay on the back. It's part of the assignment and the present. Oh, Eve turned it over and saw it was two-sided frame. As she skimmed the careful writing, felt her throat close. Would you read it? Sinead asked, and looking up, Eve saw the moment had stopped and everyone waited for her. Would you read it to us, Eve? Why don't you do that? Understanding. Why don't I do that? Rourke, understanding, took the frame. The person I'm most thankful for this giving is Lieutenant Eve Dallas. She kept me safe when I was scared and I was sad. She took me to her house with Rourke and Somerset and Galahad so nobody would hurt me, not even the bad people who killed my family and my friend. She told me the truth. She promised me she would find the bad people and make sure they were punished. and Rourke said she would never stop until she did that. He told me the truth, too. She helped me find Richard and Elizabeth and Kevin. They're not my mother, my father, my brother, but they're my family now, and I know it's okay to love them. It doesn't mean I don't love my mom and dad and my brother. Dallas didn't treat me like a baby. She told me I was a survivor, and that's important. She worked hard and even got hurt, but she found the bad people and she made sure they got punished. She told me the truth. She kept her promise. So she is the person I am most thankful for this Thanksgiving. Nixie Swisher. If you haven't read Survivor and Death, you should read Survivor and Death. Actually, you should just read them all. You should just read them all. Um, so she posted it on the to read the rest of it. Oh, you know what else? I didn't know it, and I've read this book 10 or 20 times already. But when I opened it up today, I found the receipt. It it's a little faded, but I actually found the receipt. I got it from Barnes and Noble. It was $27.95. Membership was 22 something, and after another discount for Christmas, I think $20.12. And I bought it with Catherine. I think it's Catherine Coulter's Final Cut. Those are the two books I bought that day. Just cute. We will be doing Taken in Death in the next day or so. It's book 37 and a half, so look forward to that. Please hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I'm doing a good job. I just read books and talk about books. Don't forget Star Trek Next Generation Fridays. We did Legacy the other day. We did Remember Me. We're going on. And please check back Flashback Mondays. Please hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I did a good job. You're all I've got, peeps. There's no family here to help me, so you're all I've got. So check it out. J.D. Robb, Thankless in Death book on CD. Have a good one.